Despite being considered the second best prospect from the 2023 NBA draft class only behind Victor Wembanyama, one of the biggest arguments you'd still hear from critics against selecting Scoot Henderson really high in the draft is that you can basically find 6'2" guards like him anywhere, which to me is something that doesn't really make any sense, because despite being just 6'2", Henderson is one of the most unique, most talented, and most NBA-ready lead guard prospects that the league has had over the past few years. Scoot actually reminds me of a cross between Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook in the sense that he's a freakish strong athlete who can change speeds and directions in the blink of an eye before powering himself to the basket, while at the same time, he's also got an advanced understanding and feel for the game and how he can manipulate everything on the floor as a playmaker. Also, looking at it, most young athletic point guards would often rely on one or two skills entering the NBA, but I think what separates Scoot among any other recent overly athletic guard prospect is that he already knows how to regularly combine all parts of his skill set to become the most well-rounded player that he could possibly be on the court despite only being 19. This past G League season, while playing for the Ignite, Scoot put up a really well-rounded stat line averaging 16.5 points, almost 7 assists, more than 5 rebounds, and more than 1 steal per game. And while his 43, 27, and 76% shooting splits aren't exactly eye-popping, especially for a top 2 prospect, there's definitely more to his game than what the numbers tell. So what's good everyone, it's Real Balls here, and in this video, we'll dive deeper into the film and into the more advanced statistics to fully get a grasp of why the NBA ain't ready for Scoot Henderson. So let's get to it. First, I want to start off by talking about Scoot's playmaking, which I think has been one of the more overlooked parts of his game. I honestly think there's no better playmaking guard from this draft class than Scoot Henderson, who this past season in the G League averaged almost 7 assists per game. Well, sure, that also came with him averaging 3.4 turnovers, which has caused his point guard qualities to be criticized, to the point that some draft analysts even came to conclude that he's a bad playmaker, which I definitely don't agree on, because diving deeper, you'll see that Scoot actually still registered the 29.8 assist rate this past G League season, which is actually the 7th best assist rate among all players who had a usage rate of at least 20 in the G League. Also, he actually had a 1.98 assist to turnover ratio, and in comparison with other past college turned NBA point guards, that's basically the same with what Jalen Brunson put up during his final season in Villanova, and is also even higher than what SGA and De'Aaron Fox had during their one-and-done seasons in Kentucky. And while neither of those guys became known as point gods in the NBA, they all have at least become solid playmakers who can leverage their scoring abilities to create for their teammates. Basically, I think Scoot putting up these strong playmaking numbers in the G League just tells us that he's a really willing and effective passer on the floor, despite being a teenager who's leading his team against ex-NBA players and other professionals. But even ignoring the advanced numbers, the film itself would actually show us Henderson's absurd playmaking talent. While he's already going to be an NBA-ready pick-and-roll creator right from day one with his ability to deliver the right types of passes to his role man. But actually, my favorite part of his playmaking has got to be how he creates for teammates on the weak side. Scoot just has a knack for breaking down weak side actions while also having the ability to dish out laser-like passes to cutters or open shooters. Here you can see Scoot creating something off the pick and roll. He uses the ball screen to get into a driving lane, and just when it looks like he's gonna throw a lob to his roll man, he actually reads the defense and instead throws the one-handed sling pass to a teammate on the corner who drains the open three-pointer. Here, Scoot uses another ball screen from Eric Mika. You can see both drop coverage defenders doing a good job of tagging Scoot while filling up the lane, but Scoot doesn't panic as he finds the weak side cutter with the last-minute one-handed pass. Then here, Scoot doesn't even attack and just stays in front of his man while reading the weak side. As soon as he sees a teammate going for a back cut, he just throws the quick one-handed laser pass right where his guy can get it. Well, those are definitely some advanced types of passing reads that Scoot's already been making. Basically, the types of third-level reads we see from legit NBA point guards. The good thing is, the numbers also support Scoot's maturity as a playmaker during his 2 seasons in the G League, as during his first season, his assists only produced 1.13 points per possession, only ranking in the 28th percentile of the league. But during his second season, that increased to 1.17 points per possession, which ranked in the 60th percentile of the entire G League. So I think both the film and the numbers actually support what I see from watching Scoot, and that is when things are going smoothly for his team, he'd be willing to sit sit back and just focus on making the right passes, but when his team needs a bucket, he will gladly take over and shoot the basketball. But for sure, what really drives all of Scoot's potential as a playmaker and scorer is his uncanny ability to attack the rim for his size. Despite being only 6'2", he's almost always had a physical advantage against his defenders given his special blend of strength, explosiveness, and balance with the ball in his hands. Unlike other young athletic guards, Scoot can play at a variety of speeds because of his crafty footwork and handle, all while also having the ability to finish out of tough angles right at the basket even through contact. In his first year in the G League, he shot only 49% at the rim in the half-court, but this past season, that increased to a solid 58.5% finishing rate, which is definitely solid for a 19-year-old 6'2" guard. Well, it usually takes years of experience for players to figure out how to blend power, finesse, and creativity at the rim, but I think it's really impressive that Scoot is already doing that even prior to entering the NBA. Here you can see how Scoot gets creative in isolation. He uses the ball screen to get his defender off balance, and once this happens, he hits his man with a crazy behind the leg cross to create space, then watch him with a Euro step and the reverse finish while avoiding the block from Wembanyama. Here, Scoot uses a double drag screen play to start his attack. He uses the confusion created by the second screen to blow by his man. Then in the lane, he protects the ball with a Euro step all the way to making the tough shot even against contact. But since Scoot doesn't have elite size for a point guard, I think floaters from around 10 feet of the basket will also be useful for him in the NBA as a counter against elite defenders who would prevent him from getting all the way to the rim. And the good thing is, Scoot actually shot a solid 48.6% on floaters this past season, which ranked in the 77th percentile of the entire G League. The thing is, the further we move in space, the more questions come with Henderson's shot, and the biggest concern that scouts have with his scoring right now comes with his jumper. Well, from the mid-range, I think Scoot looks extremely comfortable generating a lot of quality shots off the dribble, but the problem comes with the percentages as he only shot around 37% on 2-point jumpers this past season. And for comparison, a similarly sized lead guard like Cason Wallace actually shot a much better 44.8% on 2-point jumpers in college despite having much lower volume. But also, this is why I'm not really worried about Scoot's percentages. He was his team's best player and he was guarded like a real number one option in every possession, which is why I think the volume and variety of the mid-range shots he took can't really be compared to his counterparts. Well, same goes with his 3-point shot, which has also caused a lot of skepticism about his game, as Scoot only made 31.3% of all his pull-up attempts from 3 this past season. Again, the percentages are far from where it needs to be, but I still think Scoot's headed in the right direction as an outside shooting threat, as he didn't shy away from taking advanced shots like step-back threes or even pull-ups out of the pick and roll. Here you can see Scoot coming out of a dribble handoff and looking at the situation and seeing that there's no pass to be made before his man even catches up. He utilizes the ball screen by taking the pull-up 3 over the late contest. Then here you can see Scoot coming out of the side screen action, which forces the switch against Wembanyama. Now watch him pull off the behind the leg cross to set up a step back 3-pointer that he comfortably drains right in front of the big man. Just the fact that he looked fluid taking those difficult shots as his team's number one option is really encouraging to me, and I'd definitely be surprised if Scoot didn't at least become a league average jump shooter early on with the NBA's wider spacing. Plus, another indication that he can thrive as a 3-point shooter is that Scoot actually shot almost 43% from deep on catch-and-shoot situations this past season, which ranked in the 67th percentile of the entire G League. This is a clear indication that Scoot can become effective alternating on a spot-up role in the NBA alongside another high-usage playmaker long-term like LaMelo Ball in Charlotte, who's also a good spot-up shooter himself. But also, another reason why I believe Scoot will thrive on an occasional off-ball role is because I think he's a very underrated cutter as well. Well, to be fair, he only cut on 3.9% of all his possessions last season, but those cuts actually produced 1.57 points per possession, which ranked in the 95th percentile of the entire G League. Well, obviously, how Scoot thrives off the ball will depend on how his NBA team deploys him, but watching the film, you could just see that Scoot has a good sense of finding open lanes, while also being able to use his athleticism to take advantage of defenders who are eagerly trying to deny him from getting the ball. But still, to me, at this point, it's Scoot's defense that's gotta be a priority for whoever team drafts him. While I'm not saying that he's a bad defender, because when locked in, Scoot actually displayed flashes of being a terrific defender, being able to get steals from the point of attack and being able to generate deflections from passing lanes, while also displaying strength and balance against attacking players. In fact, Scoot averaged more than a steal per game last season. Still, a lot of times, he fell asleep off the ball and he floundered fighting through screens in the pick and roll. His Ignite team also actually had a 115.3 defensive rating without him on the court, but they had a worse 118.4 defensive rating with him on the floor. Again, I don't think Scoot is a bad defender even at 6'2", but for him to be a successful two-way player at the NBA level, I just think that any team who drafts him should make sure that he makes the necessary defensive adjustments, all while embracing the struggles that come with it early on. And if that happens, I do believe that the possibilities in terms of Scoot Henderson being a legitimate two-way NBA star are basically limitless. So which team do you realistically want to land Scoot Henderson? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below, and again, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as well. Again, this is Reroll Balls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.